Oh yeah, go ahead, pump it up. I'd love to catch a firefly that's far away. I see your whole crew staring as I put the speed down. You're like a soup can, I'm like Superman. I saw Veronica, the girl that put you off blast, cause you played harmonica in art class. I know you want her to, but you don't move cause you don't have any shoes. You touch a pom-pom, I touch an A-bomb. Aw yeah.
20 nights in the ice is a long time when there's hostels on the hill. It's not about what they want, you just gotta walk your walk.
Hey everyone, welcome to On the Senses. Today it's just a me and Majo special. And today we are talking to you about downgrades. So downgrades are kind of, they're not a major part of the game, but they are still there and they are still worth talking about. There's a few main decks that use them, but any deck really can make use of these cards that sometimes people forget actually exist. So, Majo, do you want to take it away with what you're first thinking about downgrades?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so when we thought about this topic, I'll be honest, I love the idea of just a super honed in piece of the game, right? And yeah, just for some quick stats, we've got 9, and actually we talked about this earlier, Jack, but all the downgrades that exist are all considered standard because they were, the first downgrade was printed in Convergence, right? That's when sort of that type of a card came into be, and so you've got 9 blue ones, 15 yellow. So yellow has got the numbers there. Only 5 red and then 4 gray. Yeah, man, I just, obviously bounty hunters are huge.
Well, I was just going to say that's why yellow has so many, because we have the hunters.
Yep.
We have characters like Boba, Forlom, Zuckus, that basically everyone that came out around this time is like, oh, we now have bounties, and all of our abilities are now to do with bounties, which is just great.
Yeah. I will say, if you're out there watching and you haven't played bounty hunters before, and you haven't experienced the rush and the thrill of popping bounties and just the like the boon you get, all the money, all the cards that you get into your hand, to then just the game just swings so heavily in your favor when you can pop those bounties. That's could be a whole video in and of itself. That is just so much fun.
One time we will have to do a video about that crazy 2v2, but that's for another day.
Yes.
So yes, as you say, there's bounty hunters that use funnily enough, they use bounties, which are downgrades. The other main uses of downgrades are the witches. So we have a lot of, they call them curses. That's the subtype on these. So, bounties go with the bounty hunters, curses go with the witches. They're obviously built for their appropriate decks. But then we have downgrades, in between, which aren't just exclusive to these decks. So not exclusive, but better in those decks. We have ones that, you can really put in any deck. So the question is, should you? So, do you have any downgrades, Majo, that sometimes when you deck builds and you're like, should I put it in? And then you just don't have space for it, or you do put it in and you've used it and it's been great.
Yeah. I mean, I've been toying around a lot lately with Pyre and indirect damage, and so cruel methods, but that's an obvious one. That's not really a good answer to your question. That's just super obvious. I mean, I think that one that I've thought about a lot recently, we talked about this again earlier very briefly, but Burned. It came out in Faltering, was it Faltering Allegiances? Yeah. It's a 1-cost neutral yellow downgrade intel, and basically it's title hate. So you can play it, and I'm sure we'll flip it up on the screen there. And basically, if your opponent doesn't have enough money to stop it, you play this downgrade, and you can discard all titles. So Admiral, right? It's like I'm shocked that with the strength of Hondo Admiral reset decks, for example, more people don't run Burned. Maybe I'm missing something there. Maybe there's other ways to tech against that. But yeah, that's one that I always look at. I'm like, man, I want to play that.
I guess it's the fear that you have that in your deck and it's dead.
Yeah.
But you come against any sort of, I don't know, supporter deck or like whatever, and it they don't have titles, so it becomes a bit useless. What I think is worth noting is that there are more there's less specific ones in this game than banned. One of them being mind extraction. When you think downgrade, I think I usually go straight to mind extraction, which is on any character that doesn't have a special, which at the minute that abilities seem to be more activation and like power action stuff than specials at the minute. Mind Extraction is a very good card. I know the character who's hating Mind Extraction at the minute is Akbar, because if you do this on Akbar at the right time, so when he's already exhausted, you force him to lose the next swing, and you force him to exhaust the next round. That's quite a good example of the best this card can do. But against there's many characters where this can really screw someone.
Well, yeah, I mean, think about Hondo, right? He rolls in with 2 Pirate Loyalist dice. If you've got Mind Extraction on him, he's got a hard decision. Do I just exhaust now, lose all my dice to get him back later? That could be devastating. Big Vader, right? His power action's offline. I mean, so many characters that have those power actions are
Palpatine. Unlimited power, it just kills him.
Yeah, I think I saw a Dice Commando video a couple weeks ago, and it was so climactic. It was like I can't remember the exact details of it, but it was like, all right, if my opponent has Mind Extraction, I'm dead. But there's nothing I can do. But he plays a Mind Extraction, basically meaning that Palpatine didn't have all that extra health and just immediately dies. And it was just, it was clutch. But that's another one I kind of look at a lot, and it's been played against me, but I just never really have any interest in playing it. But it seems like it might be good. Is Refusal?
Oh yeah, it's got a good mill. Yeah.
Yeah. But then there's always that downside of, well, your opponent might want all that money. So Refusal basically turns all your damage symbols into resource symbols. And some opponents would just look at that and be like, okay, well, I'm going to play my Blizzard 1 now.
Yeah, exactly. It's a very risky one. I think another probably worth knowing is Chancellor's Edict. Most decks will have shields at some point. It's a delayed defensive stance. Is that the one that gives 2 shields?
Yeah,
on the
pay
on-play?
1 to get 2 shields. Yep, the blue hero card.
So,
yep.
Yeah, it's a delayed one with the on-play. So it's not, even if you don't get the on-play, it's not bad value. It's a late 2 shields.
Yeah.
But I guess the point is that whatever deck you're building, you can have a downgrade.
Yeah.
So the question is, should you? So I think the way that you decide if you want a downgrade or not is look at your deck. Do you have room for it? If it's a deck that's doing 3 different quite complex things, you're not going to have room, and you shouldn't even consider this. But if you're doing quite a simple like aggressive deck or support deck or whatever, a downgrade might do you some good. If you think I'm lacking shields, their abilities keep knackering me, and I don't have enough mitigation or whatever, or if your deck's doing something particularly well, like control or something, hampered will help you out. How many downgrades do you say we had in this game?
I think it was 30 some.
33 I've got here. 33.
Yeah. Yep.
There are 33 downgrades in this game, so whatever deck you're building, you're probably going to be able to fit one of these in, and it won't do you too much harm.
Yeah. And also, we can't talk about downgrades and not also mention Knightsister Lair, right? I think, obviously, in a Bounty Hunter deck, or even in a Witch deck, where you're probably running, in Bounty Hunters, I think 8 is a typical number for bounties. With Witches, maybe also around 8. But if you're not a super specific deck that relies on bounties or downgrades, you may not run that many. But even if you run 4 or 5, like you might still want to run Knightsister Lair for that resource advantage.
Yeah, it really depends on how your deck is built. Like if you're a Bounty Hunter deck with, let's say, Fallen, whose entire ability is about bounties, and you're doing, cards like Hunt Them Down, for example, you may go, and I think in mine I went more like around the 10 mark, because I was like, these are going to be important, and like Dangerous Escape as well.
Yeah.
Great fun.
Yeah.
Decks where, I'm going to want bounties. But if they're not as important, like if they're also just Lair, then you don't need to tech for bounties, but it's just nice to have them.
I think another deck you'll see a lot of downgrades in would be EWOKs. Like rolling logs, and I know that Jeff on our server, Jeff W here in the US, I know he plays EWOK. Sometimes he plays those downgrades pretty effectively, and they can really mess up your turn.
Oh,
because what is it? Net trap, man, that's an after effect, and it just keeps the tempo. It's kind of like a VPD. So
Yeah.
they lose no action to trigger that after effect.
Yeah, exactly. Echo 7 was doing pre-point change Lumpy Elite, Wicket Elite, and Satine Elite, which is 6-star yellow stat. And the amount of times that I was just coming in with like all these downgrades to me, where it's like it's not going to win you the game, but heck, it gives you an advantage.
Yeah,
you know,
and
you're slowing me down, doing me down. Yeah, well, exactly that as well.
Yeah,
doing crazy EWOK.
What about, have you, since Faltering Allegiance is launched in, when was that, January? Have you seen anyone use Extort Cooperation? It's a 3-cost downgrade intel. It's villain, yellow. So basically, the premise, and I'm sure we'll flash it up on the screen, but you resolve your dice showing resources and place them on the downgrade. And if you can get a number of resources on that downgrade equal to the character's point cost, you take control of the character. That's just wild. I've never seen anyone play it though.
I've tried it. It came out at the same time as Bazine. She was meant to go with it, but unfortunately there wasn't any other cards that works around it.
Yeah.
There's too many things pointing against it because it's only one die. The actual thing itself is only one die. If it gets mitigated and you're doing an Extort Cooperation deck, you just ruined.
Oh yeah, you can only resolve that die against it.
Yeah.
Oh man.
You can do. So the ruling on it was, if you have like a modified money, like water, for example, it'll all go on the card, which is useful.
That's good. Yeah.
But the only time I've seen it play is in Constructed Death Star decks because it has 4 resources. And
that's interesting. Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, I guess that's worth noting as well. That, like, you know, even if your deck is going a complete different way, you know, if the downgrade suffices, it was what I made a point in the last video of, like, if a character is doing its job, even if it has an ability or some subtype, don't feel the obligation to use it. As long as they're doing what they need to do, don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Same for this. If it's serving its job, then
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So what else, man? What are some of your favorites?
I think
Mind Extraction. Yeah.
Yeah, that's very useful.
I've seen you play Chancellor's Edict a lot. That is a good one.
Yeah.
Shield removal and then that sort of delayed bonus, right, when you kill the character.
Yeah, I think the card I want to talk about, which isn't actually a downgrade, funny enough, but it does refer to downgrade, is Force Drain.
Ooh.
So that was
That's
so we both built the same Inquisitor deck, but we built it completely differently. I went the downgrade route, you went the more like ability route. But Force Drain, flipping. My play the event decreases cost by 1 for an opponent as a downgrade on it. So it's a 3-cost. Exhaust when you're blues to deal 3 damage. So it's, you know, you're paying 3 for 3, but obviously you're exhausting character. So, but then if you defeat a character, you heal 5. So you pay 3. You pay 3 for an 8 damage swing.
Yep.
So again, just hitting home that point of if you're doing downgrades and you have the space for it, cards like Force Drain, Hunt Them Down, Dangerous Escape, so on, they're gonna take your deck that is doing this cool thing and downgrades and make it doing this cool thing with downgrades. It'll make, you know, you'll work together more. It's just being selective. What you actually have on there. But as we make clear, if you don't have room for it, ignore this. But if you do have room, this is the way to go.
Yeah.
I think
it's just, you know, it's fun to look up here on the database and look at all of them. I mean, man, there's some really interesting ones that I kind of want to play now. Like from Convergence, Secrets Laid Bare.
Yeah.
After attached, it costs 0. After attached character is activated, reveal 3 random cards from its controller's hand. That's like OG Detect. That is awesome because I'm a huge fan of Detect. I just love, you know, knowing what my opponent has, and that's just what an interesting downgrade. So
and I guess we have to do a couple little honorable mentions. Recurring Nightmare, that can sometimes be good. You know, if you have the money for it, it's a nice little extra dice in the pool.
Downgrades that come with dice are just really fun.
Pestering is a 1-cost with a resource side. I think that's the only reason I play that, but you know, there you go.
Yeah.
Okay, I guess the point is that whatever deck you have, if you have room for downgrades, there'll be one that fits.
Yeah.
Sorry, ignore my dog.
I think, one that might not be so fringe, it's actually probably pretty common, would be priority target. Or no, I'm sorry, not priority target. Target acquired on the hero side.
Yes.
If you're running Saw or Ewoks, if you got a splash of red, you want to. Basically, all that indirect damage can be funneled to that one character who has target acquired on them, and so that that one could be immensely powerful, right?
Yeah.
So.
And it's nice to just looking at a few of these. It's nice to see that if vehicles become the next big thing, we can be prepared for it with outdated tech, which is the first time I've seen that card.
Yeah.
Malfunction.
Or systems malfunction. Yeah. I started to make a deck one day with a bunch of downgrades, like Shock Collar that does damage when attached character is activated, and then Dark Memories that does 1 damage when attached character is activated. Now, I don't think I ended up making it. It was just not going to be very good.
Yeah.
But the idea of the character activating and just taking 2 damage every time, and then a die that rolls in with them from Dark Memories that can be resolved against them, and just what an interesting strategy that could be. So not very competitive, but could be fun.
No. And I think we should maybe wrap up this video here, but I just want to saying that we have a card in this game called Grand Theft Speeder, and I just think that is awesome.
Yeah, play that on a Blizzard, please.
Please. Anyway, thank you for watching. This has been me and Maja talking about downgrades today. So stay tuned in this series as we cover the different aspects of Destiny, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.
Awesome. See you guys.